Welcome back, Respawn Rome Gang, to another video. As promised, I'm bringing you part 2 of the video that I released a few days back discussing Dialga EX and Palkia EX and building decks around them. Guys, I will leave a link to this video in the description, so make sure you guys go check it out. In this video, we will discuss about 2 other heavy hitters that got released alongside Dialga EX and Palkia EX, which is Infernape EX and Garchomp. Guys, if you remember, if you watched my previous video, which is the part 1, you will notice that at the end of the video, I did mention that I will be making another part 2 video building decks around Infernape EX and Garchomp, because in my opinion, these are heavy hitters that also got released in this new Space Stamp Smackdown A2 Apex sets. These cards, guys, will break the meta for sure, along with Dialga and Palkia with their abilities, and I can't wait to incorporate them into my playing decks. Before getting further into the video, I would request you to go like and subscribe to my channel, as it is free for you but means the world to me. Now, coming back to the topic, let's talk about the cards. Firstly, Infernape, aka the Fire Monkey. Infernape, guys, is basically the new Charizard for the fire deck, and the highlight of this card is how it only takes 2 energy to start demolishing the opponent. It comes with a base HP of 170, which is just 10 short of Charizard, but that does not take away the fact that it's equally powerful as Charizard, and why it is that we will explain later on in the video. Now, getting off the topic for a little bit, I should let you guys know that even in the Pokemon series, which I'm sure, guys, all of us has watched, we all know that Infernape tops the chart in being Ash's most clutch Pokemon, boasting a 80% win ratio over any of Ash's Pokemon, period, across all generations. And it's not a surprise that Infernape would have a heavy impact on Pokemon TCG Pocket. Let me know in the comment section, guys, which is your favorite Pokemon from Ash's collection. For me, it's Greninja, followed by none other than the Fire Monkey. With that being said, guys, let's start building a deck around this Fire Monkey. Before building this deck, guys, I would like to mention that Moltres EX would play a key role in making this deck successful, just like the Charizard deck. And why is that? I will throw more light on this later on in the video. So for now, let's get started on this deck building, and we are building the Infernape EX and Moltres EX meta deck. Now let's take a close look at this deck and the cards that I'm using. As we all know, guys, Infernape is a 3-stage evolution. It's not a basic card, unlike Moltres, so obviously we need all of its evolution. So we're definitely going with 2 Chimchars, which is the first stage, followed up by 2 Monfernos, which is the second stage evolution, followed up by 2 Inferno EX, which is the final stage evolution. Follow that up with 2 Moltres EX cards. And talking about the supporters and items, we are going with X Speed, 2 of them to, move the cards around from the bench to the active spot. We are going with 2 Sabrinas to change our opponent's active Pokemon depending on the circumstances. We are going with 2 Professor's Research. We are going with 2 Pokeballs. We are going with 2 Dawns. Well, guys, Dawn is a very important card for this deck and the playstyle that we come in with, knowing that in fire decks, we don't get the option of Manaphy or Vaporeon to feed energy to different Pokemons in our active and our bench spots. So in this case, we need to use a supporter card to have that advantage of moving the energy from the bench to the active. So having the Dawn card in your deck is an integral part of this deck play. Followed that up by Giovanni's, and we are going with 2 of those. Giovanni, guys, as we all know, this card allows you to add +10 to all damage done by your card. Well, one of the things that I would like to mention before discussing the deck is why we're using Moltres. Well, Moltres, guys, is the core of every fire deck that you build, in my opinion, regardless of what you're using. The reason behind that is Moltres's first attack, which is Inferno Dance. Well, guys, if you don't know that, like Inferno Dance, what it does is it takes only 1 energy to fire off, but it just, with the coin flips that you get when you attack with Inferno Dance, you have the chance of getting up to 3 energy that you can attach to any of your bench Pokemon. So I feel like having a Moltres is very important in any fire type deck. So now talking about this deck and how it plays and what's the play style, well, amongst me and my friends who are also playing Pokemon TCG Pocket, we have called this deck the Power Crept Charizard deck. And why we have called this is because this deck works the same as the Charizard deck, but it replaces it with Infernape EX. Moltres, guys, like I mentioned before, would be the battery of this entire team, because Moltres would pretty much be accumulating energy for Infernape's Fire Blitz attack. One major advantage of this deck over the Charizard deck, guys, is that Infernape EX's energy efficiency. Unlike Charizard EX, guys, which we all know that it takes 4 energy to fire off that powerful Crimson Storm, which is like, I understand, like, guys, I understand that Charizard's Crimson Storm is very powerful, but sometimes I'm pretty sure like all of us have, basically experienced this. Like, after we fire off a Crimson Storm and we're pretty much not finished the game, you cannot fire off that Crimson Storm right away in the next turn. It pretty much takes 2 more turns for you to gather 2 more energy to fire off another Crimson Storm. So it also becomes kind of a disadvantage in certain cases, not taking away the fact that Charizard is pretty much one of the OG cards of Pokemon TCG Pocket, period. Now, why I feel Infernape EX is a little bit better in this case is because Infernape EX can switch out freely without any energy cost. Guys, always remember, not only does Charizard's Crimson Storm discard 2 energy, Charizard EX also requires 2 energy to retreat in case its health is low. But that's not the case with Infernape EX, because Infernape EX pretty much switches in and out without any energy cost. Like, guys, how powerful is this card? Like, sometimes you just gotta sit back and realize, like, Infernape is a top card, because not only does it have a base HP of 170, not only does it attack 140 with its Fire Blitz, but it also doesn't take any energy to retreat, which is absolutely a game-changing attribute that you can get with this card. So this flexibility, guys, combined with its high damage output with only 2 energy, makes this deck absolutely lethal, and in my opinion, one of the top meta decks in the current update. Like I mentioned before, guys, with Dawn's ability, you can transfer energy from a bench Pokemon to your active one. As we all know, in fire decks, we don't have the advantage of having Pokemon cards like Vaporeon or Manaphy. And this Dawn card basically ensures a steady rotation between attacking and energy regeneration. Just because Infernape, as we all know, guys, it discards its energy after firing off Fire Blitz. That's the only disadvantage, but then again, we all who are fire deck lovers, we all know that pretty much some of the OG Pokemon cards from this deck always discards. Like, even the Ninetales, guys, like, after Ninetales is firing off its attack, it discards 1 energy. So fire decks, guys, basically is a heavy hitting deck, but one downside to it is, like, almost all the Pokemons that are super heavy hitters discard an energy right after firing it off, with the exception of Arcanine. But also remember, Arcanine also destructs itself, like it does 30 self-destruction to itself after firing the Inferno Onrush. So keeping that in mind, it should not be a problem, but as long as we have a constant and steady flow of energy from the Moltres. Most of these cards, guys, if you're wondering where to get them, you can find it in the new Space-Time Smackdown booster packs, while Moltres, guys, can be obtained in the Charizard pack, which is from the initial genetic Apex that got released with the game. Alright, guys, that was Infernape and Moltres EX deck for you guys. Make sure to try it out and let me know in the comment section how it played out for y'all. With that being said, let's jump into the final deck of the series that revolves around none other than Garchomp, and today we are pairing this pseudo-legendary dragon with Mew. Now guys, you must be wondering like why I'm using Mew and pairing it up with Garchomp. Well, firstly, as we all know that with dragon type decks, we always face this trouble of, having to use scattered energy type. So obviously we need to pair it up with a Pokemon that can actually attach an energy to it and be useful regardless of what it is. And I feel like that is where Mew steps in and creates that change. And I feel like when you pair up Garchomp with Mew EX, it kind of creates a scary deck that you guys can enjoy fighting with. Well, we did a video literally talking about Dialga EX and Palkia EX, and today in this video we already talked about Infernape EX, and we build a deck around it. But guys, this Garchomp and Mew deck is something that I'm personally super stoked about, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. Now quickly, let's have a look at this Garchomp and Mew X meta deck and the cards that we are using. So Garchomp, guys, once again, just like Infernape, is a 3-stage evolution, so it's very important that you have the previous evolutionary stages as well, which is Gible and Gabite. So obviously, we want 2 Garchomp in this deck, so we have to go with 2 Gibles and 2 Gabites as well, so that we maximize our chances of getting 2 Garchomps early to mid-game. Follow that up by 2 Mew EXs, and talking about the supporter and items, we are going with 2x speeds for moving up and down in the bench, and 2 budding expeditioners, 2 everyone's favorite Professor's Research, 2 Pokeballs, 2 Potion, and 2 Cynthia trainer cards, which is basically one of the most game-changing things that has happened with this new update. Now, if you ask me, guys, why is Cynthia such an important card in building this deck, is because, as we all saw in the trailer, the addition of Cynthia in the roster of cards simply makes not only Garchomp, guys, even the Togekiss a powerful heavy hitter in Pokemon TCG Pocket. This deck combines Garchomp's Dragon Claw with Cynthia's power boost and Mew EX's versatility, creating 2 heavy hitters in early to mid-game like we talked about. Like I said, guys, Dragon-type decks can be a little tricky sometimes. We all know that. We have faced this with Dragonite, we have faced this with Druddigon, and we all know due to their energy-type requirement, which requires you 2 or 3 types of different sorts of energy depending on which Pokemon you're playing in the deck. However, like I mentioned, guys, Mew EX's genome hacking bypasses this restriction without needing specific energy types. Like we all know, Mew EX's genome hacking pretty much requires 3 colors energy and you're good to go. This unique combo, guys, allows Garchomp and Mew to alternate between dealing damage. And like I mentioned before, guys, Cynthia, which is basically the game-changing trainer card, helps Garchomp deal with the additional 50 damage on top of the 100, which can basically clean up your opponent's last remaining Pokemons. Like, if you have taken a look at Dialga EX or Palkia EX, you all must be knowing that they both come with the base HP of 150. So now, with the 50 plus additional damage that Cynthia is providing to your Garchomp, you can pretty much clean both of these cards. And I consider both of these cards to be heavy hitters in the first place. So now we understand what Cynthia basically brings to the table. And one of the reasons we are going with 2 Cynthias is because if one of our Garchomp gets completely wiped out, and like I mentioned in the deck, we're going with 2 Garchomps. Like, if we can save our Garchomp from dying, we can definitely use 2 Cynthias on it, but then again, we have to keep the second Cynthia just in case we have a chance to fire off another Dragon Claw from the Garchomp. So keeping that in mind, guys, Most of these cards that I discussed about in this deck can be found in the new Space-Time Smackdown Palkia booster packs. Yes, guys, the Palkia booster pack will give you all the different stages of the evolution, the Gibble, the Gabite, and the Garchomp, while new can be obtained, as we all know, from the Mythical Island booster pack that got released just before this new A2 Apex set release. There you go, guys. We have finally discussed all 4 decks revolving around Dialga EX, Palkia EX, Infernape EX, and Garchomp, which is unfortunately not an EX card. If you like this video, please share it with your friends so that everyone can take advantage of these heavy hitters and the decks that we have discussed about. Because you know the motto of the Respawn Realm gang, we like to educate and help every player evolve from amateur to pro so that we all can become bosses in this game. If you want me to make another video or another series on more decks that got released in this powerful Space-Time Smackdown release, then let me know in the comments section and I'll be more than happy to drop it for you guys. Also, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you're liking this type of content. And thank you guys for watching. See you all in the next video.